Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this afternoon's session. The topic for this afternoon session will be responses shaping dialogue in Macau. And we will have two presenters. Both of them are from University of St. Joseph. The first presenter will be Dennis Zuev. He's from the Xavier Center for Memory and Identity of University of St. Joseph. The topic of his presentation will be collaborating through the pandemic in Macau. So let's welcome Dennis to present his paper.
Thank you, Thomas, for introducing me. Thank you, Professor Rotling, for inviting me to this symposium. Now I would like to share my screen. So the presentation today is some kind of an introduction to the center that we're establishing at USJ. And it's the Xavier Research Center for Memory and Identity. And it's a new beginning. And I think it's also an important progress has been done. Just before I go into the activities and some of the issues related with collaboration, before discussing that, I would like to introduce myself a little bit. For several years, actually decades, been doing research on China. The first time I arrived in China in 1997 in Beijing as a student studying Chinese language. And I've conducted field work in China in different cities on various projects related to mobility culture and also being based in Max Planck Institute for Social Anthropology. We had a few projects, several years also at Lancaster University. We had a big project on low carbon mobility in China. So over the years, this experience and also connections with Chinese scholars have been very important in trying to scope out problems and important issues that I think we're going to tackle also in this center. Currently, I'm teaching some courses at USJ, comparative analysis of Asian cultures. But my primary focus as a scholar indeed has been China. And so I've been quite lucky to some extent to be in Macau and trying to understand what is the specific, what kind of specific place Macau is. Some anthropologists argue there is no place too small. And Macau indeed is an interesting case. And if we speak in terms of resources, cultural resources, human resources, of course, Macau is an interesting resource, it's an interesting place and it has multiple resources which need to be sustained. But at the same time, we are facing realities. Things are changing, practices are changing, we need to take care, we need to consider these sort of transformations, these huge transformations that are touching Macau, China, Asia, the world in general. So I will continue with introducing the remit of the center. Basically, Xavier Research Center is a multidisciplinary hub for education and research on the issues related to cultural sustainability in Macau and wider Greater Bay Area, China, Asia. The remit of the center, we have several research lines. One of them is cultural sustainability. And cultural sustainability is usually categorized under the social pillar of the three pillars of sustainability. But indeed, it deserves its own pillar. And it can be considered as the glue that can hold together or permeate social, environmental, economic spheres. Surprisingly, there hasn't been much attention in scholarly literature or focus explicitly on culture. Of course, we have this as a as a working program, and of course the remit of the center is being formed, the content is also being formed, and there are three main lines: cultural sustainability, urban history, or indeed history in general, related to Macau, Greater Bay Area, or I would say South China, entrepreneurial culture, identity, and innovation. So there are three lines: cultural sustainability, urban history, entrepreneurial culture. There are smaller or not less important subtopics related to cultural politics of material and immaterial heritage. Of course, here Macau is a very important laboratory and case study for conservation practices. But we're not only talking about memory and identity, we're also looking into the future. Indeed, it's about different aspects of culture, such as food culture, but also languages, communities in Macau, in South China, that are very important. We also have a body of researchers who are dealing with history and history of urban transformation and development, but also contemporary forms of urbanism. And because the acceleration pace is so fast, we also lose track sometimes what has been done before. And I mentioned this timeline that I've been related with China, thematically and time-wise. Of course, this immense pace of change, something that's also very difficult for scholars to take into account. But we're also talking about visual culture. Macau is an amazing example of cultural hybridism, and there are different aspects of innovation, social and ecological innovation, creative industries. We're not only talking about Macau, but also Hong Kong as a special administrative region. Cultural tourism, also something that we are developing now in relation with master program at USJ, and sustainable tourism practices, something that perhaps can also be of future use in Macau, that is being established as a platform, as a global platform for tourism. The mission is to nurture cross-expertise and multidimensional collaborations for understanding cultural complexity. And of course, there are many issues with different communities, languages, and cultural politics. But we also want to develop top-notch, impactful research projects that address current issues and fundamental questions, fundamental theoretical questions related to understanding of culture. We foster productive dialogue between practitioners and academics. So while, of course, there is an emphasis on fundamental research, we have to be in touch, we have to be in dialogue with practitioners for improving the quality of life around us. And so this kind of practical wisdom from practitioners, the case studies, it's of course feeds into research, and research data that is generated by scholars. It can improve also the practice related to urban planning, for instance, or industries, business, entrepreneurial culture, and so on. There are some objectives that we have. Of course, it's provide home for researchers and not necessarily researchers from USJ. We are welcoming researchers who have interest and they can be affiliated with the center, with their projects, but also research students. We have some PhD students that are dealing with practices of conservation. And so, of course, Macau is a great place for this research. But also across the disciplines related, for instance, to the Faculty of Arts and Humanities, because the center itself is based at the Faculty of Arts and Humanities, and it's kind of a platform that also unites expertise from departments of architecture, design, media, and history. We also try to make visible and accessible the impacts of research relevant to the thematic remit of the center. We have some scholars in South Africa, for instance, or in Portugal, encourage the transition from research active to research intensive academic culture. And of course, develop and support the postgraduate research student experiences. We have already made some steps, even though originally the center was established as an initiative between USJ and Macau Ricci Institute. There was a kind of period when there were lectures, but I think there is another period now of consolidation. We have this year a series of seminars, which we call bridges, and it's usually end of the month. And the format is quite demanding because we have 2 speakers in different parts in Macau or in the Pacific region, and 1 speaker in Portugal or the Atlantic. Both are talking about Macau or issues related to South China. There are also 2 discussants, so we have at least 4 people presenting and commenting. It's a seminar of 2 hours, and we're also planning different symposiums, which are perhaps smaller scale but high impact, but also public lectures for students, and sort of getting back to this offline mode of contact, which is extremely important. Unfortunately, for instance, Macau Studies Conference organized at University of Macau this November is going fully online, and people are often no longer making an effort to go somewhere because everything can be done online. I think this is hopefully changing in the near future, but we're trying also to promote this live contact whenever possible with lectures and with general public. We also try to go beyond talking. We have media, we have design, we have data scientists. So we are organizing some kind of screenings, exhibitions, and book launches. In December, we're planning a book launch by one of the scholars in urban history from Hong Kong. So the first seminar in September ran quite well, and it was the discussion went also on 2 communities, Portuguese and Macanese communities. We had professors from Macau Polytechnic University, Professor Vanessa Amaro, and Professor Carlos Piteira from University of Lisbon. And this seminar series is actually collaboration with Portugal, with University of Lisbon Institute of Orient. And it's a very important issue of identity and dynamics in the time of the crisis. Also, it's very sensitive. It touches upon the nerve of the community, Portuguese community, for instance, that is changing. The composition of the community is being reconfigured. But now it can be, of course, sensitive discussing anything from cycling to food, urban form, or the history of water provision. So, of course, there are reactions in the news. For instance, Portuguese community reacted in the media. But sometimes we have to discuss things, and we discuss them in a respectful manner to all the participants, of course. We have participation online, and it's maybe a little bit technically demanding, but it attracts students as well, and different parts of the academic community. I would also urge that USJ community participates in these seminars. The second seminar, and we have actually this seminar series, which is discussing conceptual issues related to culture. And some of the scholars are top speakers or top scholars in their field of cultural anthropology. On the 31st of October, for instance, we have the second seminar on transitions. And Professor Andrew Kipnis, one of the important figures in cultural anthropology based in the University of Hong Kong, is going to talk about transformation in cities in China, but focusing on the belief in ghosts and urbanization in China and Hong Kong. So I welcome everyone on the 31st of October. This seminar will be online because, again, due to restrictions, it's difficult for many scholars to still to come to Macau. But again, I'm hoping that this is changing, and we organize this online as well. But the previous seminar was hybrid form, so it was great to have this live contact, this energy flowing, this intellectual energy flowing between the speakers and audience. We also have public lectures. So this will be a live lecture on the 28th of October, and Professor Tim Simpson from University of Macau, who has done quite a lot of research, and he has published many articles on casino capitalism in Macau, but he is a Department of Communication Studies. He's going to present a chapter from his new book, Betting on Macau, Casino Capitalism and China's Consumer Revolution. So again, we are going to discuss different issues related to transitions in Macau in terms of how gaming industry is changing and how it changes the city, and how it also affects culture. As I mentioned, this is a collaboration with University of Lisbon, Institute of Orient, and we have this kind of Portuguese-Chinese connection, which I think is very important to maintain in Macau. And this is great that the scholars are participating despite the time frames and their busy schedules. And we also have these public lectures organized together with Institute of Orient. We also have this call for collaborations. Centro Científico Cultural de Macau, which is a scientific and cultural center of Macau in Lisbon, is also a great partner and helps us to disseminate news. And this is very important partnership, also partnership with local associations. We have some memorandums of understanding, but also there are other associations that are interested in collaborating. In April, we're planning to organize a sort of transdisciplinary seminar with United Nations University. As you know, we have United Nations University in Macau, which is doing research on social computing primarily. And it would be very interesting to merge different types of expertise, their computing skills, but also understanding of ethics, how data is used. And I think this is also very important and interesting event. Now the date is to be confirmed, but it will be next semester in April. We're also organizing educational events, which is important for students to access this pool of expertise that we are accumulating. I cannot say we have, but we're accumulating at the center, and it's going to be the first summer school, or it's being planned as a first summer school on visual sociology in Asia. It's organized together with International Sociological Association and Research Committee on Visual Research. I think it's very interesting. Macau, again, is a very insightful case for understanding urban transitions in Asia in general, different frictions, but also this pace of change, which is amazing. And I think it's a rich trove of data and very stimulating for education. It's going to be a 2-day seminar with international mentors and lecturers around June. So, of course, this is organized with our colleagues in media studies. And so these are some of the plans we have. Projected themes, and happy, of course, to collaborate further with Macau Rich Institute. We have some maybe very important points where we can overlap, but this overlap is the platform for collaboration. And we have some topics right here: visual history in Macau, electrification of transport. This is done together with Sustainable Association, which is a Macau-based association. We also planning a seminar on Macau studies, because actually one of the guest discussants in the first seminar on identity was Professor Catherine Clayton, who is the author of one of the most important books about Macau history before the handover. And so there are many topics actually that Macau can provide, and I think these perspectives can cross with other fields. And with this short presentation of projected themes, I think I will close, and I will invite your questions, and I thank you for your attention.